and welcome to Astrology Breakdown with my psychic connection. I'm Squirrel, and I am here with my lovely show host. I can't even say it. Innerji, the metaphysical crow.
Hello, how are you? It's great to be
Tongue
here
tied.
again. I'm your host, Co.
Yeah, my host, Co. And we have a lot to share with you guys tonight. There is a lot going to happen this week. Holy crows. And we are both super excited to share it all with you. So, oodles and gobs of information. So, put your
Yes,
caps
I'm,
on.
I'm doing a little dance in my chair.
I know I'm so excited. We're going to start off letting you know what's in the sky right now. I'm just going to give you the planets and the signs, and then we're going to have Innerji explain the aspects or the connections that those planets are making. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're starting off with a stellium in Capricorn. We've got the Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Pluto are all in Capricorn right now as we speak. We've got Venus in Sagittarius. We've got the moon in Aries. We've got Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. I'm looking down at my little handy dandy charts here. And we've got Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. Now, that's a lot of Earth. We've got 2 planets in Taurus, 4 planets in Capricorn. We're very Earth heavy, common sense heavy. That can often be a good thing. 2 planets in water and 2 planets in fire. There is no air represented by a planet here. So, what that could mean is that communications are not at their best. Even though there's no retrograde with Mercury right now, technology could be giving us fits because there's nothing being represented by the air element at the moment for communications and technology. So, with that, be very, very careful of how you word things. Don't go Shoko Hawa host. It affects me all the time, you guys. There's no air here except the airhead. but no air, and Innerji is going to explain to you about those aspects.
I would never say you were an airhead. You have so much wisdom within you. Okay, so the aspects. Emma Rose says the sky sounds super busy. It is, it always is, but there's that earth energy. Now, it's interesting in looking at the aspects, I'm seeing some earth energy there as well, because I have Mars conjunct Mercury. And with that Mercury being in Capricorn and Mars, the action planet, even though it's a fire energy, it's action, it's doing. So what I'm seeing with this particular trine between, this conjunction between Mercury and Mars, I am seeing it's time to get in and do. Don't talk about it. Do it. So it's a time for action. And as Squirrel said, with that air energy, trying to communicate what you want to do might actually get in with the way of what you are actually doing. But because this is a conjunction, the energies are blending. So this is not a time to sit back and keep thinking about it. Is it a good idea? Is it not a good idea? It's time to actually take some action with this particular conjunction. Now, of course, we've still got the sextile. Now, a sextile means that there is opportunity, it's positive, we're coming in positively with you. And so we've still got those sextiles with Mercury sextile Saturn, Mars sextile Saturn, and Jupiter sextile Saturn. So these are all very, very positive. And as I said, sextile is about opportunity, about bringing in a positive fashion. And with Jupiter sextile Saturn, I'm seeing that there's freedom here, but it's kind of a contained freedom, because with Jupiter in Taurus, we are looking at the practical things again, that Earth Taurus energy. So we're looking at our money, we're looking at our finances, we're looking at what we're doing with our assets and expanding them. But then we've got that sextile to Saturn, which says we need to do it in a responsible way. We can't just go off in a spontaneous, oh, I think I'll go and repaint the house kind of thing. It's got to be done in an organized, practical, and responsible way. Now, Saturn is still in Pisces at the moment as well. So there will be this urge to not want to be self-disciplined, to not want to do it in a responsible way. That Jupiter energy will say, I just want to do it. So make sure that when you are bringing new things in, particularly around finances and around your assets, that you do it in a responsible, measured way. The other one we have that I wanted to have a look at is Mercury sextile Saturn. And so this is saying that apply your mind to what you're doing. And it kind of follows on. I kind of see the aspects sort of merging together at the moment, because Mercury's saying, you know, think about it. Think about it. Don't talk about it. Think about it. And then take the action on it, then expand out. But again, that Saturn energy of self-responsibility. There is a saying that self-discipline creates freedom, because when you apply things through some self-discipline, through responsibility, then you have the freedom to do other things because you've done the things that you have to do. And that stellium with all the earth energy is about getting things done, doing the practical and maybe the hard work around it as well. So that's just a little bit of what's going on in the sky at the moment.
So that's quite a bit. Emma Rose says, I wish the communication in the sky was more down to earth. No pun intended. LOL. It's, I think what might be going on with that lack of air in the sky right now is that it might be just too down to earth, and it feels like things are being barked, or communication may be coming across harshly, and those emotional creatures like me are hearing it like, do it now, move, and we're like, yeah, I don't want to. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that could be the biggest problem with the communication aspect right now, is that it is too cut and dry and do it, and there's no emotion behind it, and it just needs to get done. And a lot of sun signs and rising signs and all of that may take offense to that, because it feels like we're barking orders as opposed to saying, hey, let's do it like this. So
Yeah, and
that could be very wrong.
being in that practical mode, and because it's earth energy, that equates to the number 4 in numerology. So we've got that, solid, reliable slowing down. But our minds, the way we live today, our minds are like fast. We've got to get it done. We've got to do this. So there's kind of a push-pull. But what I see with these particular aspects is that we can use it in a positive way. It doesn't have
Absolutely.
to be negative. That's the key
Yeah.
thing here.
Yeah. Just be careful. I mean, because knowledge is power, and forewarned is forearmed. The fact that we know there's no planet present in any air right now gives us the leg up to be really careful about how we speak things out. Like if I'm working with somebody that I know is sensitive. I can't just say, hey, go do this. I say, hey, could you do this, please? It's knowing how we're coming across and knowing what's absent or present in our energies that really helps us make things better. It's not an excuse. It's okay, this is going on. I got to be more careful, or ooh, I got to chase this
Mm.
opportunity down. And in this case, it's both.
And with all that earth energy, it is about slowing down. It's sort of like think before you talk kind of expression, rather than just like me, Sagittarius, if it's in the brain, it's out the mouth. And with Capricorn rising, it's the facts, man, just the facts. So we've got to be a little bit careful about how we communicate. And because there's not really a lot of water energy in the chart at the moment either, it's almost like emotions don't come into it too much, except for that thing of, ooh, I feel hurt. And then that creates more miscommunication, I feel, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know today alone, I had to catch myself several times for the way I'm speaking. It's like my voice is harsher, not harsher, but it's like I'm like, okay, these are the facts. This is what we need to do. Let's do it. And the people I'm speaking to are going, uh, weren't you nice yesterday? I'm still nice. I'm just I'm focused. I'm hyper focused right now on getting things done. We got a journey
Everything
couple.
is logical. It's all logical
Yes.
Yes.
mind. There's no feelings incorporated at this moment.
And I am
Yeah.
personally finding that I honestly have no patience for emotional stuff right now. And I am an
Nobody.
emotional creature.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
I just
So,
wanted to pop in and say that, I was on the at the end of the intro coming in. I was like, man, that has got to change because it is definitely not me anymore. But still wanted to come in and say hi.
Oh, we love your pop-ins, don't we? And Emma Rose says, is Saturn moving into Aries after it leaves Pisces? Because I hear Saturn is not too happy in Aries, and I wonder how it will affect the world. Well, let's have a look. I'm just having a look to see when Saturn is moving
absolutely.
into
It'll
Aries,
be a
because obviously
while.
it'll be a while because
Yeah.
Saturn moves very, very slowly.
And it's
And
only
yes,
at 5 degrees right now.
yeah, so it's got a long, long way to go. I actually haven't got my dates that far ahead because Saturn stays in a planet for, let me have a look,
Like
Saturn.
12 years, 12,
Uh,
14.
it takes 29 and a half years for Saturn to travel through the zodiac. So it's in one zodiac, one sign for about 2.5 years.
4 years.
So
Okay. Wow,
I
my
can
math is
count.
way off today.
Yeah.
It'll be
And
happier
Saturn,
in Aries than it is in Pisces.
yeah.
Promise.
But it is also in fall in Aries as well. So it means
Yes.
it's certainly not as happy there as it could be in other signs.
Now, as Saturn in Aries myself, one thing that I recognize, like Saturn in Aries it is a sign of service to others. And it is an accountability. So Saturn in Aries, Saturn is all about limitations and responsibility and the rules. And Aries is all about, ooh, I got an idea. I'm just going to do it and to hell with everything else. I'm doing what I want to do. Aries is very proactive and it's a cardinal sign. It wants to do everything it thinks of as it thinks of it. So with Saturn in Aries, you've got responsibility and you've got freedom, right? So the two don't mix well. They don't mix well. But I have found that the best way for me to deal with my Saturn in Aries is to be accountable to other people for the workload that I have and to be of service to other people. And in that, when I am doing that, my Saturn is absolutely fine. I don't feel constricted. I don't feel confined. But left to my own devices, not having accountability to somebody else, I don't get jack squat done. So I'm finding for myself personally, that's the way to control that
Yeah.
Saturn in Aries.
And I find that Saturn puts the brakes on things, not completely, it doesn't stop things, but it puts the brakes on a little bit because Saturn is about the long-term future, not what's happening tomorrow. Where Aries is in the here and now, ever present. What am I doing now? Am I rushing into the building to save the baby kind of thing? And no
Mm.
thought about the consequences of it until afterwards. And even then, sometimes they don't think about the consequences. So that Aries energy with that fire and wanting to do and rushing, and then we have Saturn coming in saying, hey, cool your jets a little bit here because, we need to think this through. And Saturn gets such a bad rap. It really
It
does.
does.
I love Saturn as a planet.
A cool thing is, too, that you will find a lot of first responders, especially firemen, with strong Aries energy, and then that Saturn in energy, Aries, that service to others. You will find Saturn in Aries for a lot of our first responders because they are driven by other people. So there is a negative aspect. Well, it's in fall, so obviously there's a negative aspect, but there's a negative aspect to every sign and planet. But one of the negative aspects of Saturn in Aries is that you are so driven by your accountability to other people that you will not stop until you fall to make sure other people are pleased. And Shirley says it was on your tongue. I saw it. It was
And it is that drive, isn't it? It is that drive. And Visions of a Raven says, if I wasn't born at night, I would be an Aries. Well, there you go. We are born when we are born, though, so that's what we need to focus on.
I miss your face too, Raven.
Ah, that is so sweet.
Emma Rose says, my Saturn is in Gemini in my third house. That's got to be a brutal Saturn. How do I work with the Saturn in the third house in Gemini at 6.3 degrees? We would have to really sit down for like an hour to talk about that. So if you would like a chart done, like the really personal stuff that we get like that deep into one person's chart, you can find us on www.mypsychicconnection.com and book an appointment with either one of us. But since this is a live audience and several people are here, we can't go dive in that deep with houses, and we want to make sure everybody gets heard, honey. But that is an interesting, that would be a difficult, just to loosely answer your question, that would actually, to me, be a difficult placement because Gemini can be all over the place. I think with that Saturn in that third house with that Gemini, because Gemini belongs in the third house, I think maybe, well, not maybe, I think that it somehow harnesses you so that you are able to get at least something done during the day. Because if it was just full blown Gemini sun in the third house, because I know you're a Gemini sun as well, you would be so all over the place that you probably would forget to pee. I mean, it would be bad.
And the other thing, it depends what other planets are aspected to it as well. So that will like intensify or diffuse, make it harder, make it easier. So, you know, when you're asking questions about something that's in your own chart, and this is for everyone, not just for Emma Rose, we actually need to look at your whole chart, not just one part of it,
That's
to do an
very,
in-depth
very
reading.
true. Very true.
It was an interesting question.
So I said we were going to have some exciting stuff to talk about tonight. And on what day is that? Saturday, January the 20th, we've got one of the biggest transits of the year coming up. And it is a huge one. Not only does the sun transit into Aquarius at, let me look at my notes because I'm not a math person or a numbers person. The sun transits into Aquarius at 9:08 a.m. Eastern time on January 20th. Then at 8:08 p.m. Eastern time, Pluto transits into Aquarius. So I do want to ask Innerji about the numerology, but first, I want to tell you what that means. So Pluto and the sun are going to be conjunct in Aquarius. And what conjunct means is they're so close together. And with planets, those outer planets like Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, I do not give it any orbs. Orbs means you can be a degree or 6 to 8 away from each other. It doesn't have to be exact. But with Pluto, it's if it ain't exact, it doesn't count. So this will be a global, like a very global thing. Pluto doesn't generally affect individual charts or individuals themselves unless they have something in their chart that tightly aspects it. But with this being a conjunct, they're kissing each other. They're right on top of each other at 0 degrees. That is going to be a revolutionary change. There are going to be innovations in technology, a lot of new ideas coming through and taking off and sparking. But it's also removing, Pluto is moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. So it's really going to usher in. It's going to take years, like years, for this to play out, but it's going to usher in the everyman taking control of their own lives again. The corporations, the big dogs have gotten so much control and recognition that it's really hard for everyday people like us to make any kind of business or any kind of decisions or movement without the corporations. And I sound like an anarchist, but this is the Capricorn energy as far as this is the rules. So we're coming out of Capricorn where it's the big dogs, the corporations, the rich people controlling everything, to where it's going to gradually, very slowly, like 20 years or more, where it goes back to the everyman and things get a little smoother for everybody. Now, it will retrograde again. Pluto will. There's one more retrograde back into Capricorn on September 1st, and it will stay retrograde till November 19th. And we've just come out of a retrograde. So it's kind of like this push-pull between the general public, the everyday man, and the corporations. And we're going to see that again. It's just going to be bam, bam, bam. The economy is very reflective of that. And on November 19th, it will go back into Aquarius direct, and it is going to stay in Aquarius. That's why this is going to take so long. These things take time. They don't happen overnight globally. It's going to stay in Aquarius until March 8th, 2043. So over the next 20 years, we are going to see revolutionary changes that are better for common people. All right. And what I wanted to ask, energy, I'm sorry, that was a whole lot of information. The sun going into Aquarius at 9:08 a.m. on the 20th, and then Pluto going into Aquarius at 8:08 a.m. p.m. What is the numerology? I am dying to know.
Okay, so what I've been doing is, what I did was I looked at the day first. So it's the 20th of January, 2024. And when we reduce that, normally you would come down to the number 2. But the first reduction that we do brings it to a number 11. Now, in numerology, 11 is a master number. So the day that these planets are changing, Sun and Pluto going into Aquarius, going into a sign that is about freedom and innovation and the people standing up, then this is looking at a global scale, looking at massive change. This is less about, you know, will I change jobs tomorrow? But what is the best for the people? People are going to stand up. I see with this number, this 11 number, which is kind of known as the teacher number, and it's about people taking control and believing in their own teachings, believing in what they want to do, what they feel needs to be done globally for the good of all, as opposed to what I need to do just for myself. So I see a lot of connection. And with it coming into Aquarius, that number 11 energy marries up beautifully, because what is Aquarius about? It's about advocating for the people. It is about standing up. And the thing about this is merging the master number 11 with Aquarius. It's not just standing up for the sake of revolution. It's not standing up just to be a pain in the butt to the powers that be, the establishment. It's about standing up for absolutely true and positive reasons. Standing up saying things are not fair, things are not working. The amount of control that is in the world is not effective. It is not as democratic as it is spoken about. And so what I see with this number 11 on the 20th of January, that people's mindsets will start to change. Now, coming into the actual times, and this is something new for me because I don't normally do numerology on specific times, so I'm really excited. So the sun goes into Aquarius at 9:08 a.m. And of course, depending on where you are in the world, that might change. But 9:08 a.m., if I look at those numbers, it adds up to a 17, reduces down to an 8. Now, we are also in an 8 year. So this is saying to me that the sun going into Aquarius, the sun being a super strong luminary, which is the word I prefer to use than planet, being super strong, it's our life-giving energy, and then moving into Aquarius with that number 8 and the year being number 8, this is about what we want to achieve. This is about making material changes. in terms of getting more money for ourselves, but making material, effective changes for the world at large. Now, with Pluto coming in at 8:08 p.m., that number reduces to a 16 and then down to 7. Now, with this Pluto energy, the sun in Aquarius, the people standing up for freedom, we've got Pluto coming into Aquarius with the number 7, and Pluto is about compulsiveness, it's about obsession, it's about fanaticism when we see it at its most negative. So what I see with that particular numerology is I see a lot of things going on in an underhanded way. There is going to be more fanaticism. There is going to be more extremism. And as we were talking a little bit about this before the show, I had something put in my head just intuitively that says, I feel that there is going to be some sort of fanaticism event in about 3 to 4 months from now that is going to kick things in a new direction. And I feel that that is going to trigger more people to stand up and say, we are not taking this anymore. But coming back to that number 11 energy, it's how you stand up. If you just go in there with guns a-blazing, metaphorically, then it's not going to be as effective. You don't want to use the same energy to stand up against what is established by using that energy. So it needs to come from a more innovative, creative, and, if you like, new point of view perspective. Gosh, I hope that made sense. Lots of words come out of my mouth sometimes before I get to hear them.
Isn't that what Aquarius is all about too? I mean, and Aquarius is related to rebellion, and it's a rebellion against traditions that no longer serve us. And I'm not saying everybody pick up a gun and go fighting, but we're going to see innovative, very innovative. Aquarius is also about innovation. Aquarius is an air sign. We are being ushered in by an air sign into I would call it a new age. I would call it a new age.
And it's technically not the age of Aquarius in the way that it's spoken about, but we are transitioning into a new level of awareness. It's a new level of awareness, and it's an awareness that says we don't have to keep doing what we've always done. We can do things in a different way, and we can do it proactively and positively. Whereas if you come at this from the old way of rebellion, you know, the riots, the protests, the, you know, getting aggressive and getting into fighting, there's a different way to stand up, and that's what I see with this energy.
Yes. And I love how the numerology just totally worked with the energies involved. That was just absolutely beautiful.
And we're only looking at it at that key point, you know. It's still got to grow from there.
Raven says, I'm late to the party, but I'm a Taurus sun, Scorpio rising, and a Pisces moon. Hey,
Ooh.
That's a good mix, I think. I believe that is a beautiful mix. I want to be a Taurus when I grow up.
It's a gentle mix, isn't that?
Yeah,
gentle
it
energy.
is.
And Emma Rose says, I have 4 planets in Gemini, so you've got a little bit of a Gemini stellium.
And Visions of a Raven says, and Saturn is never my favorite, LOL. But it's so essential because nothing would ever get done.
Yeah. Emma Rose says 8 is my life path number. Nice life path number to have.
And Raven says, thank you, LOL. You're welcome. Now, I want to pose a question to you. So we know that Pluto going into Aquarius transit, that is a big deal. That is a huge transit. It's probably one of the most important transits of the year. But I feel as if the sun moving with it, same day, that conjunct, that sense of identity, the sun, who we are, I think it just makes it that much bigger. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I mean, that it's a conjunction. Pluto and the sun are melding. And so we've got the sun's fire energy, that out there, that expressive energy, that proactive energy, that life-giving energy, because that's how I always see it. And then we've got the Pluto side, which is very driven in its own way as well, when you think about it, with, you know, that obsessiveness, compulsiveness, and that sense of mission. If we want to give Pluto something positive to hang on to, Pluto brings a sense of mission. Sun in Aquarius brings a sense of mission as well.
And a sense of community, a sense of,
Yeah.
it isn't, like you said, it isn't just about us as individuals. It's about us as a community, a global community coming together and saying, this isn't working for us. It's working for
Yeah.
non-entities. Like
Yeah.
a corporation is not a person. It is not an individual. And we got a lot of our lives dictated to us. And Emma Rose says, which rising signs will be the most affected by Pluto moving into Aquarius? That really, so Pluto moving will really not affect individual rising signs, sun signs, moon signs, any of that, unless it is strongly aspected in your personal natal chart. So globally, it's going to have big reactions. I would guess that the most effect it would have on people, like if I had to choose a sun sign that it would affect the most, or any kind of sign, Mercury, rising, any of that, it would be Aquarius, because it's moving into Aquarius's home. So Aquarians, especially already being so socially aware, are really going to feel it, and they're probably going to be our leaders in this change. So kudos to the Aquarians for saying, okay, we're going to take this in our hands and we're going to make a change for the better, and we're going to make it peacefully, because Aquarian can be rebellion, but rebellion does not mean violence. All right.
Absolutely.
Helps.
I must admit, it's just popped something into my head. One thing I think I would like to do is go and have a look at the chart around the time that Gandhi did his revolution, so to speak, because it was done through peace, it was done through love, and look at what was achieved in freeing India from British colonialism. That's the energy we're talking about here.
Okay, so we're going to have to get together really soon to do that,
and have a
because
look at
that
that.
would
Yeah,
be
see what
exciting. And I would like to look at it, because as a global event, that was huge. And that would be reflected in those outer planets. That truly would.
Yes.
But I would like to see if he has any heavy aspects in his personal natal chart with those planets that were in play, those outer planets. I would, ooh, yeah, you got me chomping at the bit for that.
It would be really interesting, because that was such, for its time, it was such a unique way of staging, if you like, a rebellion. They never lifted a finger, they never pointed a gun. Okay, the others did on the other side, but look at what he achieved.
Journey says, this time China first, then everyone else.
Oh, that sounds interesting. You need to pop on.
When you said how the India broke free and there was that revelation, this time, as Squirrel was talking about the corporations, it would start in that area because it's in the business district of it, and who is the one of the world's largest global marketers is where it would start. And then it would affect the chains.
And that would really make sense, because the as individuals, from what I've seen and understand, the Chinese people are not treated very well. No. So it would be wonderful to be able to see them say, yeah, this isn't right.
I'm gonna make more than a penny an hour. Yeah. And and then you were talking about, now mind you, I'm going by the direction in which you were going. And so the small, the mom and pops, the individuals, you're going to see that individuality, which is something that China hasn't seen. But with this going into when Pluto is going back into Aquarius, they're going to get their individuality back.
Yes. And
Something they haven't had for.
we
When was
do
the
still
last
have
time
that
Pluto was in
retrograde.
Aries?
Sorry. But
Since the last time Pluto was in Aries?
oof, that's been a
Very, very
minute.
long time ago.
A
Yeah.
long time ago. Because I mean, Pluto takes 248 years to travel through the zodiac.
Right.
So it's in
add that
each
up.
sign for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's about a
I
year.
do feel that when we have that retrograde again from September 1st to November 19th, that those people in power, are going to fight to keep control. There is going to be some harsh things going on. But once that goes back into Aquarius, once it goes direct again on November 19th, the individual people as a collective will have more control. And it won't be overnight. Like I said, it's going to take until, 2043 for it to really take
It
a
was like
foothold.
20, or yeah, it was like, what'd you say, 2046?
2043.
43.
So, yeah. But I do think that with that Aquarius is a fixed energy, and Visions of a Raven said, wow, 248 years, that is a long time. Yes, it is. But Aquarius being that fixed energy, Aquarius rooting for the underdog, because Aquarius is the one that roots for the underdog. Having that fixed energy, that stamina, that ability to stay true to your cause is what's going to get us to the other side and into Pluto and Pisces, when we can all breathe and start dreaming again. You know?
I agree. I agree. And it's a long thing. It's not a short thing. It's not like the moon's in a sign for 2.5 days. So we have that effect for 2.5 days, and then it goes into the next one. This is like generational. This is
Mhm.
my favorite word is epoch. It's like an epoch transition. It's going to take time, and there will be backwards and forwards depending on what else is happening in the world and what else is happening in terms of astrology charts as we go through the years. But as Skwirl said, this energy of fixed air that is Aquarius is going to take that time, and it's staying true on purpose, staying true to your purpose. So many times we get on a bandwagon about something, and then a month later we go, oh yeah, next. But this is
Yeah.
about staying on purpose. So I see this as, how can I put it? I see this entry of the Sun and Pluto conjunct coming in as almost a milestone turning point for the world as a whole. And it can either be for the good or it can be for the negative, depending on how we band together.
Yeah, absolutely. Because nothing is just good. How we play out our reactions to what's around us is what makes us good or bad, no matter what sign we are. In Visions of
Yes.
a Raven says, I want to see what happens around that time. Me too.
Mm.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think it's
want to
going to be
watch it
quite,
all unfold.
yeah, I think it's going to be quite tumultuous. And I think we're kind of
Mm.
experiencing that already. We've got pop up journey.
Do you have a pop up, that weird guy in the bubble? So the so with that, we're talking about, you were just saying it's not going to happen all at once. We're not going to see this happening right away, but you can get a glimpse of it in the news. I don't know if a lot of you watch the news, how the people of China were kind of rebelling against their own governments at this point because of the freedoms that they would have liked or would like to have. And it was funny if you look at those times through it's not funny, but you know what I mean? There's a similarity to where, Pluto was teeter-tottering out of Capricorn into Aquarius. And every time it teetered into Aquarius, the people had an uproar there. But then it would go back into Capricorn, and the government would overwhelm them and take them on. And now they don't have that teeter-totter anymore. So we're going to slowly see this, and it will scare the world a little bit. but we'll get a sign of relief from it eventually.
If you think about it too, like this teeter totter, there's still one more totter, and then it'll teeter right back to Aquarius. But look at all the global leaders that have gone batshit crazy in the last, I don't know, what, 6 months? And the economy issues that we are, every last one of us, having global, worldwide. It is that, it's like those leaders are having these temper tantrums, like, no, you can't have it, so I'm going to punish you. And they're going to punish. They've been punishing. But eventually the people are going to say, enough, and it's going to be worth fighting for. And I know that sounds terrifying, but it's already been happening, because it's
Yeah.
gone in, it's gone out, it's gone in, it's gone in. Every time it goes back into Capricorn, it's in Capricorn right now. I do believe so. We're going to have a square um, when Pluto goes into Aquarius. We are going to have a square between Pluto in Aquarius and Jupiter in Taurus, right? And Jupiter in Taurus is, it's not all about our finances, but it can be like Jupiter's expansion. Things are better. It's luck. Sometimes it's too much of something. But in this case, I'm really seeing that square. Squares are angles that are challenges. So we're going to have a challenging time with Pluto in Aquarius. And right now we're having, or on the 20th, we'll have a challenging square with the Sun to Jupiter in Aquarius. And that is, I think we're going to see an increase in the economical disaster that we're in right now. It's going to be short-lived for the Sun, but for Pluto, it's going to take a while to correct itself. And that is going to be one of the ways that the powers that be are punishing the people who are trying to make things better. But we will outlast that. We will. So I don't mean to be alarmist, but that's what I'm seeing here.
And Visions of a Raven said, so I looked it up, lol. It said Thomas Paine published The Common Sense, an influential political pamphlet that convincingly argued for American independence. So that's innovative. That is innovative, isn't it?
Again,
and I see so
people
much
taking
change.
their power.
Yes, yeah. And what I see with the potential, particularly while the Sun is in Aquarius, what I see with the potential there is it's about taking the power in a positive way, not a negative way. Like if it was Mars in Aquarius, I might think, oh yeah, people are going to, they're going to ram buildings, they're going to do, they're going to take aggressive action. But with the Sun in Aquarius, that expression is much more positive, that I feel. And so I feel that there's the opportunity to do it in a really positive way. And again, be innovative, think outside the box. That's so important. And I think we're coming into that because people are saying the old way isn't working for us on an individual level, on a tribe level, on a community level, social level. And as Skwirl said, it's all about social because Aquarius is the sign of the social.
Yes, it is.
Very much so.
Yeah. And Aquarius is definitely the sign of the one that looks out for the underdog. And in this case, it's the underdogs that are going to have that backing and who are going to be part of that change. This is a global change of awareness. And I do believe that awareness is already being brought about by the misbehavior of our so-called leaders. Where that awareness is happening, and we're all going to get to a point. This isn't working, and we are going to change it, and we are going to change it for the better.
Change isn't necessarily negative. I mean, it's hard to do the transition. There can be some negative things that you have to face, but change of itself is neither good or bad. It's what we make of it. And Visions of a Raven says, and I'm Taurus and focusing on finances big time right now and feeling more creative lately too. Yeah. look after your finances at the moment, most definitely. And yet be creative about it. Here in Australia, there is talk about us becoming a cashless society, perhaps in 2025, 2026. So one of the ways that some people are standing up is to say, no, we need cash. What happens when the internet goes down? How do we pay for things? When the internet isn't working, we still need to have cash. And so there is a pushback with some businesses actually saying we don't accept cash anymore. And unfortunately, in our country, it is legal for them to state that those are their terms. So I'm starting to see it happening at that sort of grassroots level, and people saying, no, we want still to have cash as well as to be able to have electronic means of paying for things.
Yeah, because if it's all electronic, I mean, we have lost complete control over our own assets. If there's a crash of the internet, we are totally screwed.
Yeah. And Visions of Raven says, people are somewhat speaking up already, feeling like enough is enough. Yes, I think people are, but it's about doing it in an organized way. That's what the sun in Aquarius is about. It's not just, me going off and waving a flag somewhere and complaining and somebody else doing it online. It's about a cohesive group effort, because Aquarian energy is also about the people coming together as a group. And again, doing it in a positive way that achieves positive results as opposed to just anarchy, if that makes sense.
And years and years and years now, as individuals, we've all been grumbling. I don't like the way things are done. But how many of us have actually done something about it, made a move, gotten together as a group with, not just a petition here and a petition there, because I know petitions are being handed out and being done, but an organized effort where everybody's working together, or at least the people who want this change, because the ones in charge now don't want this change. But that organized effort, instead of just grumbling, we are saying, okay, I've got to make a stand, or my children's children will be in the same boat or a worse one. And Visions of a Raven. Visions of a Raven says, and if you look back in time, like how life was when our grandparents or parents grew up, it just isn't fair. It's time the people speak up. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And that energy is coming. It's definitely coming, but it needs to be done in a slow way. Now, I will be really curious looking over the next months, even years, how whatever else is happening in the sky as we go through, as planets change signs, as different aspects come about, how that is translating into the individual level. It would be really interesting to see what the translation is, because that could give hints on what we could do as individuals as well as what we could do as a group.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even give hints as to how you can stand up as an individual, where your strengths lie with these transits.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the wonderful thing about astrology. And Visions of a Raven says it is like people are afraid to stand up in that way because our grandparents would have been fighting for it by now. Look, there certainly has been a lot of fear in the world, and a lot of, also too, it's like, who am I? I'm only one person. What can I do? So I kind of feel there's been that kind of energy as well.
And I think it was in the 1960s that they did a survey, and they started doing research on turning that other cheek as far as the things in the world around us. And it was so many people, like a really large percentage of people that could witness a crime and act like nothing was happening, walk the other way. I don't want to get involved. We have been in an I don't want to get involved society since the early 1960s. And this is our wake up call to get involved.
And there are many ways to get involved. I'm going to go a bit woo-woo on you now because it's just the way I am. But there are many different ways to get involved. For example, there was an experiment that was done, I think it was in Washington. Don't ask me what year it was. But what they did was the crime was at its all-time high. Crime was at its all-time high. And they did this study where they had people pray for peace. Now, use the word pray in whatever way that means for you, but they were focusing on bringing peace. And at the end of a certain period of time, they reviewed the stats, And without any other laws coming into play, without anything else changing, the crime rate actually drops. So I'm a big believer, hey, being energy, I'm a big believer, how can I use my energy out in the world in subtle ways like that, through whether it be prayer, whether it be meditation, focusing on peace, because those energies do have an effect. And when we're looking at astrology, we are looking at the energies in the sky as well. So, you know, don't think you have to go in with guns blazing in order to make change.
You know,
Pretty bubble.
talking about a society that wants to fight, they've also introduced what's called cancel culture, where you can be canceled for having that independence, and it's encouraged to do so. As you see it happening with comedians and things of that nature, if they say one thing that hurts somebody's feelings, but the thing about that is what they're trying to teach you, so you use it in the incorrect way and get canceled for one thing that may be your view or opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to follow that person or support them in any way. But the thing is that they're allowing you to use that so you can misplace it and not use it against them, but use it against each other. They weaponize social media. They weaponize all this. And that's why when this whole talk about Pluto going direct in the Aries, or not Aries, but Aquarius, they're not going to have that power anymore. That power is going to start to slip, and you guys are going to be able to take your power back. I love
And
that.
doesn't
I had to say
doesn't that cancel culture, doesn't that condition us? Doesn't that program us not to speak up?
Correct.
Yes.
If you are afraid to speak up on something and someone disagrees with you, that is completely brainwashed by, some of the, I'm going to call them the social idiots, because that's exactly what they are. But they allow them to make you feel like you can't say anything, because if you do, you'll be canceled. Well, nobody will like you. But are you a person that's speaking the truth? Because a lot of times those who are speaking the truth are being told that they're the liars, and the people that are extending stories or making it look like they're the victim, or they're this or they're that, people are believing that it's the truth, and it really isn't. They always think truth's in the eye of the beholder. God, I couldn't say that. In the eye of the beholder. But look at the facts. Don't listen to everybody else. Look at the real facts. Do not look at what someone's trying to push on you, because that's what corporations have been doing to you for hundreds of years, and they're still doing it to this. They're still doing it to this day, and they've gotten away with it. Now's your time to get your power back. I love this whole point on Pluto, and I know it's one of the most furthest planet out there. You guys don't usually talk about the further planets as much because they don't affect you directly, immediately like the inner planets do, but they still have those generational effects. What happens now is affecting the next generation. What you do today affects the next generation. Everything. Those outer planets are telling you, don't repeat the past. Learn from your past.
Yeah.
That is so true. That is so true. And the negative aspect of Capricorn, I won't use the word aspect because you'll think I'm talking about two planets together. The negative side of Capricorn is this control, the need to control, the need to put up the structure and the boundaries, and boundaries and structure are important, but they need to be able to have movement and adaptability for growth in them as well. And Visions of a Raven says the internet has been our downfall, and for some people that is all they know. The internet itself is not good or bad. It is how it is used and perceived. It's like anything. Nothing is good or bad except for how we perceive it and how we utilize it. That's what creates the positive or the negative, I think. And
Absolutely.
Visions of Raven says they were born in that era. Yeah.
That's exactly true, because that's saying that, the sun, we need it to live, but at the same time, the sun's the same body of light that could cause cancer. It doesn't mean the sun is bad. You're just getting too much of it. So are we overindulging in the activities of the internet? As a matter of fact, you yourself, Energy, allow yourself 2 days of downtime to protect yourself and to pull yourself away from those energies you would consider a toxic situation. It could be a
So
toxic
true.
situation. So
So
that's a
true.
great example there. But a butter knife, you can use it to spread toast, or you could hurt somebody with it. It's not the objects that are the weaponizers, it's the person behind it. It's their intention of how they use that object, and how are they going to portray that object? How are they going to
And
hurt you with it?
one of the things that might be a really conducive change that happens with this Pluto Sun conjunct into Aquarius is teaching people how to do the research and not believe everything they see on the internet at first, because people do, they're susceptible, they believe things, they're naive. So if we can teach our children, if we can teach our peers and each other how to actually dig deeper to find the real truth and not just believe the first thing we see or hear, that could be going a very long way toward making these changes, I believe.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting, Jenny said, because this thing with the internet, I've only started last week, and people were contacting me, and it was like I had to go back online and go, no, I'm unplugged. I'm unplugged just for 2 days. But
Might actually
before,
have to unplug it.
yeah, before I joined my Psychic Connection, and before I was running my own online business, I would unplug from social media completely for anything from 3 to 6 months at a time. And the difference that it made. But then what I learned was I was also missing out on a lot of information that was helpful, because not everything on the internet is lies. Not everything on the internet is just stories. There is good information there as well. And it's a fabulous research tool if you use discernment and if you actually question what you are reading. And so coming back in now, it's like, no, I need my internet regularly, but do I need it 7 days a week? Do I need it 24 hours a day? Do I need my phone attached to me all that time? And that's why I decided that I would have 2 days off every week where I would be unplugged unless it was an emergency. And it's working. So slowly. Power is power.
Yeah.
The power of the people.
And
the power of the people.
Dangerous.
When I went to school, which was a long time ago, we were taught how to research. Last week. We were taught how to research, and we were taught how to use our brains to discern truth from falsity, and not just by our opinion, but through actual research and experimentation as well. So I don't know if that's taught nowadays. I know a lot of things are just so fast paced, and everybody's like, now, here, now, do it, now, move, So I think that the learning is a little bit shallower. I really think that if we knew how to, like, when we watch the news, we're supposed to be able to trust the news. And so many news channels or news, whatever the hell they're called, are all about sensationalism and giving us fear. They're putting fear into us. And it's not even real news. It's this might happen. It's like, what the hell, man? I've been looking at the news lately, and all of these mights and ifs, they don't belong in the news. They don't. The news should be what actually happened. Thank you. In Visions of a Raven says, I was taught that in school, but I don't know now, but education has changed a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It has. It has. And at the end of the day, it comes back to big media corporations. And so if we look at Mercury currently being in Capricorn, just bringing it back to astrology a little bit, it is about the big corporations. Media is amongst the biggest corporations in the world. Think of, I won't name names, but think of all the big ones. And so they are controlling the message, and they are controlling the message in terms of what is, how can I put this? What is the benefit for some more than others? So it's a form of control. Capricorn about control.
And fear is a form of control, and they put fear into us. And I am afraid we are out of time.
We have done philosophy tonight. We've done all sorts of things tonight.
I guess that was philosophy. We used astrology too, though.
We did. Astrological
Numerology.
philosophy.
I blame it
guys-
on Pluto.
On
Say
what?
that again.
I blame it on Pluto.
Yeah, he's still in Capricorn, dang it. But
Yeah.
it's
Oh
the lack
gosh.
of air. You know, you
It
don't
is
get
a
enough
lack of air.
oxygen.
Lack of clarity. Air,
Yeah.
clarity, clear thought.
And
Definitely.
that conjunct is going to
Definitely.
bring some clarity slamming home for a
Mm.
lot of people. In a good
But
way,
it-
I hope.
But it is a bit exciting because, you know, we don't deal with the outer planets so much in the way we were trained with classical astrology. So when there is something of import like this that is global rather than individual, it is really interesting to explore it. Just not just for ourselves as astrologers, but for everyone to have a
Yeah.
feel for what it's like. You know, as opposed to what's happening with the moon today, which I love doing. I love the moon phases, and you do the moon phases as well, don't you, Squirrel?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We hope we've given you some food for thought. And we will see you next week.
Back
There's
with
more
more.
happening next week.
Yeah. And don't
Always.
forget, we've got more shows tomorrow. We've got Bunny Sugar's Down the Rabbit Hole at 6 p.m. We have our beautiful Miss Squirrel back at 10 p.m. whispering from the forest. And at midnight, it's our gorgeous Psychic Kate and Journey Ryan taking us into the world of dream interpretation with the Shadows of Dreams. So that's going to be brilliant. I'm looking forward to it.
Dreams. They dive deep into those dreams and explain things in a way that will make your head explode. It's like, oh.
Absolutely.
See
Absolutely.
you next time, guys.
Bye, everyone.